I'm in full tomboy mode today. Got my bandana, got my wrestling shirt, got my jeans on. I'm recording before I head to the shop, so I will see y'all there if you're coming in today. And a huge shout out to all of the people who've been calling a business sign lately and who have been coming by the shop and coming to show love, coming to support, coming to buy products, and just coming to say what's up to the kid. I appreciate y'all. Like, the amount of people who have came to the shop just to show their face so they can say, hey, I watch you on YouTube, is amazing. I appreciate all the love, all the good messages, all the clients coming in who are wanting to establish themselves with a new practitioner. So I greatly appreciate you all for coming to me, because let's face it, like, the spiritual community it's a treacherous place if you're not careful and if you're not educated. And a lot of people are banking on y'all not to be educated. But that's what your God sis is here for, to put y'all on. And I appreciate you for trusting me to put y'all on. And if you haven't checked out the community post, make sure that you go and check it out, because I did drop a little something in there for you guys for the first of the month. So make sure that you guys take advantage of that. As I see 111 as I'm recording. Ashe, yes. What's good in the YouTube hood? It's your girl, Luna Nova, and I'm back with another one for y'all today. And if you couldn't tell by the title of this video, we're obviously gonna get into some military spooky stories. And I thought this was a really interesting topic because my older brother and his wife in North Carolina have both served in the military. And I do have a good handful of people in my personal family and friend group that have served in the military. So I already am gonna let y'all know up front, there will be a part 2, maybe with some personal stories from my people. And as always, y'all can always email in, and I'll make sure to drop it down here so you guys can email your stories in, because Mystic Monday is definitely going to be a thing that's going to be popping, all right? Like I said, I'm editing for the first episode. I will have the second one out soon, but I need some more entries. So if y'all could, please send in your spooky, creepy, unexplainable stories. Like, I want to hear them all. If you want them to be out there, but you're afraid, like, it's perfectly fine. You can be anonymous. I will not put your name out there if you do not want me to. I know the only way I'm going to get some of these really juicy stories is if you guys send them in to me. And if you want to be left anonymous, I will respect that. So I want some more juicy stories. The community wants the juicy stories. So let's meet in the middle and let's share. War leaves behind more than just scars on the land and people. It leaves an echo. Across bases, battlefields, and barracks, soldiers and their families have shared unexplainable phenomenons that have happened while being in the military. And these are the military ghost stories that continue to haunt. But before we dive in, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge those who have served currently and who have served previously for this country. And I also want to acknowledge the fact that not everyone who put on that uniform necessarily did it for this country. A lot of you all did it for the people right here at home. You didn't do it for a flag. You didn't do it for the government. You did it for everyday people just like you, for their families, for their communities, and for the people who stood right beside them. Whatever your reason, whatever your sacrifices, because I know many were made, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart and from my channel, thank you. Your sacrifices are seen, heard, and very much so honored. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into these creepy military stories. And again, if you have one of your own, drop it down in the comments or be sure to email it in. So go ahead and grab your favorite drink, your favorite snack, and some protection items from yours truly. And let's go ahead and get into this spooky military compilation. Only if you dare.
I've been trying to stitch this video for like 2 days. Okay, so for whatever reason, I can't stitch the ghost trend video. All my audio goes out. But I need to tell y'all this ghost story. When I was 23, I lived in Dover, Delaware on an Air Force base. And we lived in military housing. And this house was old. They were all old. Ours was really old because they had like renovated, and they had a whole other section on the other side of the base of the brand new ones. But we had the old ones with the old creaky wooden floors, like just very old, drafty ass old house. But I love that little house. And I can't say that it wasn't ever creepy. And don't talk about my nails, y'all. I'm in the middle of changing them out, okay? But I can't say that it wasn't always creepy, because it was. But it was like subtle, like you could hear like little things moving around, like kind of stuff you could explain. The only thing we really couldn't explain is sometimes we saw a shadow guy, but we were like, you know, he over there, he ain't bothering us, so we just gonna act like we don't see that man, okay? But this particular night, I was at home alone. My husband used to work overnight for damn near our whole marriage. And it was late. It was like 8 o'clock, and he wasn't gonna be back till the morning. He was already gone. So luckily for me, my baby, who was probably about 6 months old, was the best sleeper ever. That man would sleep like from 8 to 8 every night. So this was in the Stone Ages, so I still had cable. So I'm scrolling trying to find something to watch, and I come upon a Criminal Minds marathon. I'm like, bet. I get my blanket out. I'll go in the kitchen. I start making me some peanut butter crackers because we were also very poor, and that's all I had to eat. So I make my peanut butter crackers, and I get the knife, and the universal sign for I'm not done yet with this knife. I just lay it on the edge of the sink, and then I go in the living room, and I get settled in for my Criminal Minds marathon. Everything in the house is quiet. Baby's been asleep. The monitor is next to me. The only thing on in the house is the television and the little light in the kitchen. And I think the light in the hallway upstairs, but you can't see that light from downstairs. So everything is off almost. So I watched 2 episodes, and all of a sudden I start hearing like on the wall behind me. Now, these houses were like townhouses, so we shared one wall. So I'm thinking, I think it was a weekend night actually. So it's probably a party. If you've been in the military, we was partying, okay? So a lot of parties. I'm thinking maybe they're just having a party or something is going on over there. So, but then it just keeps growing in intensity, and it's like right behind my head, and it's just, I'm like, what the fuck? I can't even like reconcile what that kind of noise would be. And then it changes from that to like, I was like, oh, okay. So now I'm like, if y'all wake my baby up, we're gonna have some problems. So I grab the baby monitor, go next door, knock on the door, and I'm like, yo, y'all are just making, like I hear a lot of noise in my house. If you could just keep it down, my baby's sleeping, blah, blah, blah. And she was looking at me like I was crazy because she was like, I'm not doing anything. She was like, I'm here by myself. And I was like, oh. She was like, that's really weird. I was like, yeah, that's really weird. She was like, well, I'm sorry. She was like, it's not me. I'm not doing anything. I'm home alone, whatever. She was like, I hope you find out what it is. And I was like, damn, okay, that is fucking weird. So I just go home and I'm like, I don't know. So I skip back over to the house. And when I get back in the house, I notice that the bathroom light is on. Now, if I'm sitting on the couch, like I'm facing this way, the TV's over there, the bathroom is kind of like, I could see it out of my peripheral vision. So I see the light is on, and I haven't been to the bathroom all this time. So I'm like, you just tell yourself you must have just not turned the light off or whatever. So I go in the bathroom, I'm like, might as well use the bathroom, turn the light back out, go back in the kitchen, make more peanut butter crackers, come back to the couch, sit down, resume the evening. No sooner than 2 seconds I sat down, I hear doom, 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 doom on the wall. Right as I hear that, the peanut butter knife falls to the ground. About 12 seconds after that, the back door flies open. And I'm sitting there, I'm still sitting on the couch because all this is just happening in rapid succession. And I'm just sitting there like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And this was like 2010, I want to say. So I don't think texting was really high up on the priority. I don't remember. I feel like I still might have had a flip phone or a kick phone. I'm old. I don't know, but I wasn't texting nobody. I wasn't calling anyone. I wasn't texting anyone. I was just sitting there like, what the fuck? So my brain decides to believe that it's the wind. Because it wasn't the first time that the back door flew open because of the wind. Like I said, this house is old, very drafty. So I get up, pick up the knife, put it back in the sink, close the door. I come back, the bathroom light is on. I said, okay, I know I'm playing. I know I'm tripping. Go in there. I turn the motherfucking light out. I come back. I sit down. I hear the bathroom light click back on. The switch is going up every time. And the light's back on. So now I'm fucking terrified. I can't talk myself out of this. So right after I hear the click, my baby starts screaming. And like I said, he's a little bitty baby. And this wasn't like I woke up and I'm scared kind of crying. That man was screaming like he was in trouble. I took them steps 2 at a time. I'm running up these stairs. Y'all, I get in my baby's room. There are lights dancing all over his ceiling. Bright white lights all over his ceiling, just blinking. So by the time I get to his room, he's not even crying anymore. He's kind of sitting up and he's looking and he's clapping. And I'm like, And he wasn't really old enough either yet to have like toys that did all that blinking and all those noisy shits. He didn't have all those yet. And our house backed up to a field, so it was pitch black out of his window. There is no light anywhere. I'm like, where are these blinking lights? And they're just steady blinking, twinkling, twinkling, twinkling. So I was like, oh, fuck no. I grabbed my baby. I run down the steps. Y'all, I get downstairs. The refrigerator door is wide open. The knife I had put back inside the sink is on the floor. The patio door back open, and the fucking light to the bathroom is on. And my blanket is on the floor in the living room. No. Grab a baby bag. I grab a bottle out of the fridge. I'm out. I'm in the garage. I'm in the car. I'm like flying out of there. I call my husband. I'm like, yo, something's in the house. Come and get us. He is like, what? Thankfully, he just worked on the base, obviously. So he just a few minutes away. He comes. He calms me down. He's trying to calm me down. He's holding the baby. He's like, tell me what's going on. I'm telling him the whole story. He's looking at me like I have lost all my mind. And I'm like, I swear. I said, it's been the craziest fucking night. Now, mind y'all, all this has transpired in about an hour's time. So, he convinces me to go back to the house. Y'all, we got back in that house. My blanket was back on the couch. Bathroom light off. Refrigerator door closed. Patio door closed. Everything normal. The Criminal Minds one of the episodes is starting to wrap up. Like the little credit things are rolling on the screen. Show's still going. It looks like I had just stood up in the middle of watching television and just walked out. Nothing is out of place. And when I tell y'all, nothing else ever. We lived there another year or more. Nothing else to that level of creep happened the entire time that we stayed there. I still do not understand what the fuck that was. I don't know, but it was scary.
That sounds completely unbelievable, but is entirely true. I'll go first. When I was 8,
I first want to say that I don't do this all the time or at all, so I don't know if this is going to work. Anyway, so I was in the Marine Corps from 2005 to 2020, then I got medically retired. So these stories that I have are from this, and I'm going to try to keep them in order as best I can, but no promises. So the first one was I was in Okinawa, and it was like 2007 time frame, 2008 maybe. And I went to this party, and we had these things called the towers. I was stationed on Camp Kinzer. The towers are where the staff NCOs and the people with families stayed. And anyway, I lived in a barracks because I was a junior Marine and Lance Corporal or Corporal, something like that. And I lived in 1224, which was maybe 3/4 of a mile, maybe, I don't know, something like that, away from there. Anyway, so we were there, you know, it was Halloween. I was dressed up as the Flash, and whatever, we were just partying, having a good time, and then it was time to go. So I start walking down the street back to my barracks room, and it's a pretty lonely walk. At that time there was nothing there. I don't know if there is now, but all that I remember is that there was a playground off to my right side, and as I'm walking through, I'm like on the right side of the road, and I'm walking past this playground, and I noticed somebody walking on the other side towards the way I just came. Well, there's like, you know, street lights posted every so often, whatever they are, 20 yards, whatever. So I didn't notice him, and I was like, oh, well, maybe, you know, it's dark. It's probably past midnight or so at this time, and maybe I just missed him. I didn't see him, you know. So I go and I look, and I was, you know, making sure he wasn't an officer or something, or me get, you know, Sergeant Major about to get yelled at for not saying something to him. So anyway, I look, and because I look and I notice that like he's dressed in older, like really older, like camis. And I was like, it's Halloween, you know, whatever. Maybe he's dressed up as like some reenactor or something. And by the time all this is going through my head and trying to figure out what he was, he'd probably walked a few yards, but he still wasn't past me yet. And I just remember kind of like trying to look, couldn't really make anything out, and then I just looked ahead. I was like, whatever, he's a ways, I'll just take off, you know. And so I sitting there thinking that stuff, I look back and dude's gone, like straight gone. And then I start thinking about it and I'm like, yeah, that dude was like, looked kind of older, you know. He was dressed, had old camis on, and then he had a rifle too. It's kind of weird, you know, like at the time I didn't really see the rifle, but then, you know, whatever, thinking about it. There is another story, like I was at Camp Hansen with the Mew, and there is a gate that's like really haunted, and that stuff's up on YouTube. You can look that up. I think it's like Gate 7 Camp Hansen or something like that, and they show different things, and I know a lot of people that have said like, oh yeah, I've seen. So whatever, I'm not gonna say whatever their stories are, that's for them to tell. But so fast forward about 5 years, 2011, 2012, something like that, and I just got married and went to Afghanistan, came back, and my wife had she moved into base housing while I was gone and had everything set up or whatever, so I'd never been in this house before until I got back. And I immediately thought like something was jacked up with like the energy in the room or whatever, and I didn't really think of it. I was like, you know, you just got back, you're just in a new spot, whatever, you're good. So fast forward a couple months, and I keep feeling like the way our bedroom was set up, headboard obviously is on the wall, and then you're looking at kind of the door, the entryway, kind of to your left, and then there's a bathroom. The master bath and closets are all in front of you on the right. But I always felt like there's this like dark energy in this little corner where the door was, and specifically in that hallway to get to the other two rooms. So I never said anything, I never really thought of it, but it was there, and I always felt it. I just thought I was being weird, because again, I just got back. So fast forward some more, and our kid is born, and it was really weird. Like as soon as he was born, there was like a different energy in the room, or in that top floor, and then it was really towards his room. So he wouldn't ever sleep. He would only sleep with the vacuum cleaner on. Like we had to run. I bought like one of those expensive Dysons, and that thing burnt a hole through that hose, and because we had to keep it running for him to sleep, or he would not sleep. Then, you know, it was just weird energy. So I was at Phasmo at the time, which is on Camp Johnson, but I was stationed on Camp Lejeune, so it wasn't that far of a drive just from work to base housing where I lived, because there was just a cut through to the other base. Anyway, so I had a gunny there that she was like, oh yeah, I'm kind of sensitive to those things, and like I can, whatever, people have told me this and whatever. And it came up in conversation, and throughout I was having like a hard time, and I was just talking about it like, yeah, it's really weird that this energy's there. So she eventually comes over and brings like a present with like, you know, whatever. It was a present that she had made, and my wife said, oh, thank you. And then I was like, yeah, hey, check those stairs. And that's where kind of the stuff is happening, And I didn't say anything else. And she walks upstairs and she walks around for like a good 5 minutes. I was kind of worried. She was like snooping around. Anyway, she comes back down. She's like, yeah, there's a weird energy in that hallway. And then like Maddox's room. And I was like, effing knew it. I knew it, And then my wife at the time started saying stuff like that. She was like, I've noticed this dark presence in the corner of the room, everything really that I'd been saying or thinking. And she's like, yeah, something's off, whatever. So I remember we slept downstairs for like a while, and probably me more than them, but we stayed downstairs. Wait, no, I stayed downstairs. And then all of a sudden, I remember I came home for lunch or something one day, and our pantry, whenever you open the door, it was huge. I'm 6'3", so it was taller than me, and you can't see the stairs. That when you open the door, the stairs are right there. So I couldn't see anything from the stairs up. I'm digging around there for whatever, and I closed the door, and I see this little girl standing there. And I don't have a little girl. I've never seen a little girl. I see an outline of a little girl, but you can't really identify features on her face. It's more the hair. I'm laughing because I later found out that my wife was upstairs, and then I ran out of the house. But anyway, yeah, base housing is a hotbed for paranormal activity. It's a great time. Anyway, that's it.
Hold on. Okay, guys, so I'm covering for somebody in CQ right now. I believe nobody's here, but I just thought I could tell you guys a scary story, something that's happened to me in my time in the army. So let me tell you. So first, it started off when I arrived to Fort Riley, Kansas. First of all, when you're in processing, those barracks are like super old. It's the first infantry base or division to ever be made, so it's old, like a whole century. So I kind of got the creeps being there because it was really old and it looked kind of scary, but whatever, it's the army. So now I get into my unit, and now they give me my actual barracks where I'm going to be living in. And I was living on the second floor all the way to the back of the hallway. And when I got there, there was no other roommates, so it was just me by myself and an empty room next to me. I'm not gonna lie, when I first got there, the vibes of that room were completely like dark. Like I just felt scared and not like miserable as well. And I thought maybe it was just me just overthinking because it was such an empty like little apartment and I had nobody there. So as I'm sleeping there every day, I'm having really bad nightmares, like every day, that I'm dying or something in my family is going on. Just really bad nightmares, like things that terrify me, like my worst fears, like snakes, spiders. I'm having a lot of dreams, and this is every day. This is really bad dreams. Now me, I've always heard about sleep paralysis and things like that, but I've never experienced it. But I know they exist. I know all that exists because it's happened to family members and friends of mine. So I always knew what it was, and I've always been terrified to go through it because I wouldn't know how I would handle it. So there's this one time where I'm in my lunch break and I go to my barracks and I take a nap. So for example, let's say this is my bed, right? So I'm laying down and my head is facing the wall. So I'm laying down like this. I'm facing that way. And I hear a door open, like the main door open. So I start thinking like maybe I have a new roommate that's coming in. I'm not overthinking it yet. So I hear that, and for some reason the door's here and there's a sink here and then the 2 bedrooms here and then the restroom here. I don't know if that makes sense, but when you enter, there's a little kitchen sink and a fridge. Like it's so close to the entrance. So now the door's open and I hear the sink turn on. So now I'm thinking maintenance. It's probably maintenance, which kind of caught me off guard because I was like, they usually knock. or like notify that they're coming in. So I was like, whatever, my room door's closed, they can't see me. So now I hear the sink running, and it's running for a long time. And then I hear footsteps coming to my door. And that's where I start getting kind of worried, because I'm like, okay, well, are they going to try to come in? But those rooms, they have a card. So like the only way to get in is you have to swipe your card. So I wasn't panicking or anything. I just thought it was kind of weird. So this whole time I'm thinking it's probably maintenance or a new roommate coming in. So then I hear my door open from my bedroom, and I feel really cold wind, like super cold, really cold wind. Mind you, I'm wearing full uniform and boots, and I could still feel this cold air coming in, like literally like if somebody turned on the AC and a fan, like it was cold. That's when I start getting worried, because I'm like, okay, hold up, somebody's coming into my room, and I cannot move. I couldn't move. I was trying to get up my bed. I was trying my best to like say something and like move to see who is it and what are they trying to do? Why are they trying to come into my room? So the door opens, and I just feel that somebody's staring at me at my door. Like I could feel it, like somebody's right there, but I can't move, but I know somebody's there. Then I hear footsteps coming around my bed. So I'm laying down still, and I just hear footsteps coming around. And on the tip of my bed, like right here, let's say I had a little drawer, and I heard the footsteps go right there, and then they did 3 knocks like that, and I heard it on the side, like on my drawer. Mind you, I'm still laying down and facing that way, so I start panicking, and I'm like, okay, I know what 3 knocks mean. What is this? Now this is something paranormal. So I'm still trying to turn around and see what it is. Like, I'm just trying to get up, move myself, scream, and I can't do anything. And I still feel that cold wind coming in, and I feel that somebody's standing right next to me, like right behind my back, just staring down at me. And at this point, I was scared, but I didn't care. I wanted to see who it was, or if it was a demon or whatever. I wanted to see what it was. So I was trying my best to move, and I couldn't. Tried screaming, I couldn't. Then I remember watching a video, or my mom always told me, like, when you experience sleep paralysis, move your toes. So I started moving my toes and my fingers like crazy, and I managed to wake up. So when I got up, nothing. My room door wasn't open. I went to go check the sink if maybe there was water. Nothing. Like, there was no trace of water. There was no trace of my door opening, neither the main entrance. I had no roommate. So that's when I was like, okay, I just experienced a sleep paralysis, but it was a kind of scary one. Yeah, it was. That thing, it kind of scared me. It did scare me. And after that, I continued to have really dark dreams. My whole time being stationed out there, I was having nightmares every night. But I'm used to like the paranormal things, because I grew up with a lot of that type of things happening. So yes, I'm a like believer in the spiritual world and spirits and demons and all that. I believe in it because I've seen it. But I think this is like one of the scariest things that happened to me, because it felt so real. I felt like somebody was actually there. And like the cold wind and the footsteps, I literally heard the footsteps like if there were boots. Like it was so scary, y'all. But yeah, if you experience any paranormal stuff, stitch this video, or anything scary on base, stitch this video. I want to hear your stories.
I hope you guys love spooky stories, because I have a good one for you. You guys really like the first one about the mimic of my mom, so I have another story for you. And this one actually does not take place in my mom's haunted house growing up. This took place when I lived in a very haunted place in Texas. Little backstory, I used to live in Texas back in the day on a military base. That's where Xander's like first, I would say, like year-ish of life was. We moved out there when Xander was like 7 months old, and we ended up leaving when he was almost 2. During the time we were there, it was haunted as fuck. And let me tell you something. It really wasn't about the actual house, because I lived 2 separate places. One was off base, one was on base. Both were haunted.
I really think it was my energy, because just to give you some context, like, it was a really bad time in my life. It was a really bad relationship I was in. I was miserable. It was horrible. I experienced a lot of weird things because of that. So we'll start with when I lived in an apartment off base first. I noticed weird stuff happening. Like, I just noticed I felt weird in there. I noticed, like, I would just like hear things or see things. So the first thing that happened was I heard someone knocking at the door. It was so crazy. As soon as I said that, like, my fridge made a sound. I was like, scared myself. Okay. I hear knocking at the door one time, and I'm alone with Xander. Xander's nap. I'm like, what the heck? I look out the peephole. There's nothing there, but it was like audible. Like, it was like loud knocking. I'm like, what the hell? Okay. So I go up to the door, and again, no one's there. So I walk away. I'm like, that was so weird. Maybe that was like a neighbor, because, you know, in apartments, there's like sounds all the time. I check on Xander and stuff. It was maybe like 5 seconds, probably less. I hear knocking again. It's like, knock, 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 knock. I'm like, what the hell? I look again. There's no one there. I'm like, so I turn. All I did was just step back from the door, and I hear, like, the second that I stepped away from the door, I'm like, what the fuck? I look through the peephole, and I have chills. There is this man, but like half of his body was like see-through, like gone. It was like a floating, like, he was like the height of like if a man was standing there, but it was only like the top half of his body that I could like see, and the second half was like invisible, like gone. And I knew it was obviously like a ghost or something, but I was like, what the fuck? So scared. Nobody believed me at the time, by the way. Everyone was like, whatever, kid. It was so weird. This time really scares me. But another time I had like the video baby monitor for Xander in his room, and when I kept hearing these like sounds, and I went to check it, and I saw this like creepy hand with really long fingers, like, and it was like an all black figure standing by his bed. So I grabbed him, and I only kept him in my room ever from then on. Okay. I was like, what the hell, this place is haunted. And my ex at the time did not believe me. He was like, oh my God, you're so annoying. Like, you're so crazy. But I go out of town with Xander for his first birthday. I come back after his first birthday. All the doors are closed. Like, everything, like, I don't know. There was like a cross up, I think. I'm like, did you see something? He's like, no, I don't want to talk about it. So he obviously saw something. Okay. Then we go back to when we moved on base right after that. We live in this house on base. It gave me weird vibes. Definitely kind of like creeped me out. I don't know. Something about it was just, the energy was weird. Wait a second. I forgot a story at the apartment. Hold on. Backtracking a little bit, okay? My sister came to stay with us over the summer before everything happened with like us moving on base, okay? My sister stayed with us for like a month, so I could see her because she loves Xander, and we're like BFFs. Okay? She came, and she's staying with us, and she was like, did X, we'll give him a name, John get up with Xander last night? And I'm like, no. She's like, yeah, I didn't think he would. He sucks, by the way. That's why she said that. He never did anything for the kids, okay? For context, that's why she was like so confused. And so she's like, I didn't think it was him, because I know he never like does anything, but like I saw a person, and I go, of course, he was in the military. Okay, so she said she saw a man because she heard Xander crying in his room, and she was sleeping on an air mattress in the living room. She said in the middle of the night, she heard Xander crying, and she saw a man in a military uniform in the middle of the night get up and walk to Xander's room and start singing to him. And then Xander just stopped crying. So she was like, I was going to get up and check, like, if you didn't, because I didn't know if you just didn't hear him or something, but I thought John go in there and take care of him. So like, I didn't really like think anything of it. I was like, oh, he's got it. Okay. But I was so confused because I was like, wait, like, I don't think that's something he would do. Embarrassing looking back at what okay. So that really freaked me out because like, I know for a fact he wouldn't have done that. Like John wouldn't have done that. Also because there's no way he would have like gone to work in the middle of the night. So it was just very weird. I don't know if, and by the way, the person who knocked on the door was like in a military uniform as well. The disembodied, like half disembodied person was, in a military uniform. So I don't know if that was like the same spirit, but my sister was like, oh my God, that reminds me of like when I heard the guy knocking on the door. She's like, yeah, I wonder if it was the same thing. Pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure my sister saw the thing with like the long claw thing, the dark figure in Xander's room as well. Anyway, then we move off base, okay? Just noticed like weird little things, like nothing crazy. It really wasn't as bad as the apartment. I didn't see like the black figure or anything at this house, but there's one time that freaked me out. So it was like the middle of the night. Xander had gone to bed hours and hours ago, and I was alone with Xander in the house. I say middle of the night, I mean it was like midnight, 1 o'clock or something, okay? And so I'm getting ready to go to bed, but I had, again, the video monitor in Xander's room. I hear this laughing, like a little girl laughing. It sounded like a little girl, I guess a little kid, like laughing very loudly, like it sounded close. So I thought it was coming from the baby monitor, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, did he get up? And if so, like, why is he laughing? And I was like thinking maybe it was kids outside because I could hear kids playing. There's a lot of kids on the baby. I first obviously checked the baby monitor. Xander is like completely asleep. So then I'm like, okay, maybe is kids outside, even though it's the middle of the night. Like that's very weird. I go look outside. There's absolutely zero kids. Like no, nobody's outside, obviously. I'm like, when? But then I go back inside and then I'm like, I open Xander's door. He's completely asleep. Like I checked the whole house. No one's in there because this is how loud and like very audible it was. And I'm like, that's so weird. So I close Xander's door. As soon as I close it, I hear the freaking loud, I have chills again. I have the loudest laughing little kid. And I'm like, what the heck? Again, I open Xander's door really fast. He's not laughing. Obviously he's like completely asleep. There's like no one in the house. I checked everything. I checked the closets, everything. I'm like, what the heck? I close the door again and there's no laughing. I gotta go to bed. I think I heard it one more time. I'm pretty sure this happened so long ago. Like my son's about to be 12, like in a few days. And so this happened when he was like less than 1. That's why I'm like, I don't remember. Pretty sure I heard it one more time, checked everything again, nothing. So weird. I don't know. And then I remember when I went to leave, I finally just got tired of an obviously not great relationship at the time. And I ended up moving out. And my sister came to help me move. My mom came and I had the kids in the car. I had my daughter at that point. I remember we were going to drive away and my sister's looking at the house. She's like, dude, that has the darkest energy I've ever felt in that house. Like it looks scary. It looks haunted. Like I want to leave. I don't want to stay here. And I was like, yeah, me too. And we left. One other thing that happened, I forgot. It wasn't really like ghostly, but it was very weird, was my sister. It's so funny because she's like sending me all these pictures of Disneyland. She's there right now as I'm talking about her. But it's so funny. Anyway, this other time when I had just moved from the apartment to the house on base, okay, my sister had this dream. I hadn't showed her pictures of it. I haven't showed her the layout of the house. I was gonna like basically FaceTime her. I don't think FaceTime was a thing. I was gonna Skype her like the next day. That's how long ago this was. Next day and show her. But this was like the night that I moved in, and she calls me the next day and she said our grandpa, who had passed away when we were like, I was like 12, I think. And at this point, I think I was like 20. I was like 20, almost. Yeah, I was 20. Said she had this dream where our grandpa's spirit had come and got her in her room and like walked her through the whole house. And he said, we have to protect Kayla in this house. Like we're putting loving energy in this whole house. And she's like, I saw the whole layout. And I said, describe it to me. Because again, I hadn't sent her any pictures or anything. And she's like, you walk in, it's this. And then you walk into this room and then there's a kitchen over here. And she described it perfect. And I was like, dude, that is so weird. And so it was just very interesting. I have chills like looking back, but a lot of weird stuff happened there. So that is part 2 of my scary ghost story series. Hopefully you guys like this one. And if you want more, I'll tell you guys more because I have literally, it is an endless list.
So this story is about a drill sergeant and her experience with the paranormal. This story will be told in the point of view of the drill sergeant. This is a real story that occurred on or around October of 2021. This story takes place in San Antonio, Texas, and during this particular event, I was still a drill sergeant in the Army. It was a typical work morning. I had just finished with physical training with our trainee population. I was getting ready for the day when suddenly I received a text message from my commander saying that DSC, I'll call her C, had witnessed an accident and would most likely be late for work. Little did I know about the extent of what was about to unfold. A few hours passed, and I saw DSC coming from our female training dormitory. She looked shaken, so I approached her and asked how she was doing. She then told me everything that happened to her during the commute to work. According to C, she was on the expressway. For those unfamiliar with Texas roadways, expressways run parallel to freeways in most major Texas cities. They are meant to minimize congestions on freeways. Now back to the story. She was on the expressway when she witnessed a man being struck by a car. She immediately assessed the scene for safety, and once all the traffic had stopped, she directed someone to call the police. Apparently, the lady who struck the young man was utterly inconsolable. Being in the medical field, C rushed over to the man and started performing CPR. I can't recall, but I believe she told me the man died on impact. I can remember seeing the sadness and sorrow in her eyes as she spoke of his final moments. She recalled feeling helpless while doing CPR, peering into his eyes, and feeling a sense of grief and regret coming from the young man. Once the police and EMS arrived on site, they took over and took her statement. She told me she was just there for 2.5 hours, but it felt like an eternity. Once she got in her truck and started driving, she realized she was covered in his blood from doing the CPR. C also told me that she felt his presence in her passenger seat, and when she looked over at the passenger seat, she didn't physically see anything, but felt a presence just peering back at her, and this freaked her out a bit. Once she got to work, she showered and tossed her clothes in the dumpster behind our workplace. Then she walked out of the dormitory.
This was after she had tossed her soiled clothing. By then, we had stepped into our work area in one of our supervisor's offices. She then informed me that she still felt the men's presence in the room with us. I was appalled but not surprised. I turned towards C and explained to her what may have happened. This is purely speculation based on my understanding of the supernatural and spiritual realm concerning death. I told her that potentially right after this man had died, his spirit probably lashed onto her for comfort because she was the first to express some sort of emotional connection and provide him with some sort of comfort. This can happen, especially if it's a traumatic death, unexpected or not peaceful. He probably didn't realize that he had passed away into the afterlife or was scared because it was unexpected. I then asked her if she trusted me. She nodded. I told her that we were going to pray. Now, before I go on, I want to say that my family still practices shamanism. They're still very traditional. However, being in the military, I am exposed to multiple religions and am very respectful of religious beliefs. Now back to the story. We both closed our eyes and this is what I said. If there is any spiritual being in here with us, I want you to know that we're very, very sorry about what happened to you. You have now passed and you need to go into the afterlife. We know it can be a very scary experience, but you can let go and go peacefully into the afterlife. Please do not follow C anymore. She was there to comfort you in your moment of need. However, you are scaring her. Please let go and pass into the afterlife. Thank you for listening. It's been so long, I can't really recall the exact words, but it was something like that. And so after our prayers, I asked her what religion she practiced, and she responded that she was Christian. I then told her to contact a pastor to get more help because they are more familiar with her faith. And then we parted ways. A few days later, she stopped by to thank me for helping her through that moment. And according to her, after our prayer, she didn't feel the young man's presence anymore. Now, what I can say is about the, all culture, especially since my parents still follow the shamanism way too, is that when, someone passes, we do things to kind of make sure that the spirit doesn't follow us, to prevent these kind of things from happening, because it can happen. Like the author was saying, sometimes they don't know what's happened to them, or sometimes they're just really scared about moving on, or sometimes they just really don't know what to do, and so therefore they might stick around and they might just cling on to you. In those instances, sometimes what we will do is we'll make sure that we don't actually go home right away, or if we do go home, that we kind of step over either a fire or something to really kind of, I don't really understand it all, but that's what we've done, is to step over a fire so that way they can't follow us. Or they say that you have to take branches from a particular tree and kind of brush after your steps, right? So people would walk, whoever your family would walk by, and then you would take the branch and kind of sweep away the footsteps, and so they won't be able to follow you. I don't know the reasoning behind it, but it seems to have worked for many years, and so that's what we've done as well. Nowadays, what I do as well too is I do either sage myself, cleanse myself to make sure that there isn't any sort of energy or entity that does follow me, or any, sometimes they don't really mean any harm, or there are ones that do as well too, but that does also help with, the spirits following you to your place to where you're at as well too. There is another thing that we call kind of like putting your hand over like the stove or something warm, and then you kind of just say things like, anything that's here with me or is attached to me that don't belong here, you are not welcomed here, and you need to leave, blah blah blah. So it's things like that that has happened as well too, and or that we've done.
So I'm gonna finally tell you guys the story that I teased you guys about on my story thing. I'm gonna be so real with you guys. I've tried recording this thing like 3 times. The first time, nothing recorded. The second time, the battery that I used for my ring light died. Okay, and I had just charged it. Died. The third time, there was no audio. So now this time I am sitting in unflattering light, no spooky vibes, just in my closet. So we're all just gonna have to deal, and I apologize. This better be a good one. Okay, so this email was sent to me by Mallory and her husband. He wants to stay anonymous just because his name is not a common name. But this was in 2008 when he was at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri? Yeah, that sounds right. So she wrote in telling me how She noticed something was different with him. His letters to her started off normal, how his day was going, how his training was going, how his night watches were going. And I misuse, right? But little by little, the letters started getting weird. At some point, he didn't write for almost a month. And when he did, all she got was, it's making its presence known and it knows we're stuck here. What the hell? He also wrote in the email, which was pretty cool, getting two perspectives. He had said that while he was there, they would go on like a night watch, and it was kind of a solo thing to do. There was always something in the hallway with him. 2 steps behind. He would feel it breathing on him. He saw shadow figures standing in between the bunks, looking into the bunks. There were a few moments where he would walk by and he could look in. He sees the bunks and it's standing right here, looking in. Walk by, come back, because what the hell was that? And it was gone. Somebody in the group, his name was Thomas, and he said that for a week straight, something was sitting at the edge of his bed. The first couple of nights, they thought it was a drill. So they all hurried up, got ready. Turned on the lights. Nothing was there. But the print of where it was still there. Like, you can see the mattress rising. What do you mean? The scariest one was another person had said that he thought he was experiencing sleep paralysis. Blamed it on exhaustion and stress. Well, one night he was finally able to let out that scream because something was staring at him through the vents. Well, to humor him, they checked the vent. And sure enough, the dust had been moved. It looked like somebody had been peering over. That's some fucked up shit. The wife did ask him one time, why is it that he only sleeps on the left side of the bed? Any bed. Okay, hotels, theirs, wherever they're staying. And we all know, we all have a preference. I sleep on the left. Correction. I start on the left, I end up in the center. And she had asked him one time, like, hey, why do you do that? Because she used to sleep on the left. And he said it's because one time when he was in his bunk, laying on his left, rolled over to his right, and the thing was looking right at him. The thing was looking right at him. And even though it did not have a face, he can feel it staring into him. But before he can say or do anything, it was gone. As soon as he blinked, gone. You're gonna tell me that's not... I would only... Yep, you're right. I'm gonna sleep on the left. Honestly, if you're not as scared as I am, maybe I'm just a wuss. But if you think you have something scarier, do not forget to email me. Because I want to read it. And I want to be scared again. Except, I'm going to start cleansing my stupid email. Because clearly, whatever scary energy is being sent over is fucking with my stuff. And I don't appreciate it.
Me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
So I don't know how crazy or unbelievable my story is, but it really happened, so I'm just going to tell it. Back in 2004, I was stationed in Ramadi, Iraq with the 2nd Battalion, 11th Marine Regiment, which was an artillery unit based out of Camp Pendleton, California. During our time there, we served as convoy security from Ramadi all the way to Baghdad for various convoys. That was our mission while we were out there. The base we were sent to was called Junction City. This was an Army, Marine, Navy compound that was across the river from the city of Ramadi. And the base we're on was a prior Iraqi police compound that we had taken over. So it was a pretty big base, several miles around the outside, high razor wire fences, outpost, artillery to respond to incoming fire, things like that. But several thousand troops stationed there. And so this was again 2004. And if you remember 2004, the Iraq War was very hostile. It was a very big year for combat. April of that year, there was a big battle in the city of Ramadi. And then in December of that year, Operation Phantom Fury is when we took the city of Fallujah itself. And that was during the time period I was there in Iraq. So just to give some background of when I was there. So to get to my story, back then when you wanted to call home, and I don't know what the protocols are now or how things go now, but when you wanted to call home, you had to go to a phone center. These were typically rooms that had about 20 phones in them that people would sign their name and wait in line. Typically, each phone call was allowed 15 minutes. So when someone came out, they'd call the next name on the list and they'd say, hey, so-and-so, you're up. And you'd go in there and you'd punch in a calling card number that you had prepaid minutes, and then you'd call home. And you'd have 15 minutes to call as many people as you could or just stay on the phone calling home, right? So I had made a routine that at 2 a.m. I would go and make my phone calls, because 2 a.m. Iraq time was like 5 p.m. back home, something like that, but nighttime there was daytime here, type of thing. So I wasn't waking anybody up. And also the base, everyone was sleeping at night. So those phone centers were much less busy because nobody was trying to wake up at 2 a.m. to call home more often than not. So I had a 1-year-old son at the time, and I just wanted him to hear my voice. You just never knew when your last day could be out there. So I wanted to call as often as I could, just to give peace of mind to my family that everything was okay, even if it was for a 1-minute phone call. And so I'd have my alarm set for 2 a.m. every day. And at 2 a.m., I'd wake up, I'd grab my rifle, sling it over my shoulder, and begin my walk a couple hundred yards to this Army phone center to call home. And so to make this walk, you'd have to walk across this open field. There was some grass, but there was no obstructions in this field. It was an open field, desert type of environment. But other than that, there was nothing across these fields, just a worn out path from hundreds of Marines and soldiers, walking back and forth between the barracks and the phone centers. And obviously, you're in a time of war. You're not walking with flashlights or things like that. And the only light there was the moonlight, which in the desert was more than enough. It's plenty bright. It always seemed like it was a full moon, never a cloud in the sky. So I'm making my walk. Across this couple 100-yard journey from my barracks to the phone center. And I'm looking at the ground. Not paying attention, just kind of looking at my next step, looking at my feet, staring at the ground, just thinking about who I'm going to call or, things like that. Well, about halfway there, I run into somebody like physically shoulder to shoulder, and I get knocked back. I get hit shoulder to shoulder, and I say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I'm immediately feeling like, oh my God, who did I just run into? I'm an idiot. I'm staring at the ground. And I reach for this person's uniform to grab something to keep them from falling. But there's nobody there. And I'm looking and there's just no one there. And so I freeze with my arms up, grabbing. And I'm listening for somebody rolling in the grass or somebody stumbling, but there's nobody there. And I sit there for another 10, 15 seconds. I even say hello, and there's no one there. And so I don't spend a whole lot of time because now I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm I wonder if somebody is watching me talk to myself in this open field. So I just continue walking. So I walk another 100 yards or so, and I get to the phone center. And when I get there, the door is padlocked, and there's a sign on the door that says, this phone center is out of service until further notice. So for those who were out there, who were deployed, or for those who don't know, When that happened, it was typically because there were casualties on the base that particular day or the day prior or recently. And they shut the phone centers down as a way to make sure the news of the fallen soldiers or the Marines doesn't get back to the next of kin before they could do it properly. And so it was a common thing in 2004. It seemed like every other week the phones were down 3, 4, 5 days at a time, which, isn't a big deal if you're considering the alternative to being one of those casualties. And you completely respected those families and your phone call, minor inconvenience, but you would always, your heart would always be with those families who were getting that news about their loved ones. So the phone center was closed, which it often was. And so I'm walking back, mild inconvenience that I wasn't able to make my phone call, but I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what if the person I ran into, the spirit that I ran into, was a soldier, Marine, sailor who was going through their routine still of calling home, and they didn't realize that they had passed. And that's who I bumped into that day or that night on my way to make my phone call. And I've never forgotten that. And sometimes it gives me chills thinking about. I never pinpointed the day. I never pinpointed who the casualty might have been, but that's what happened to me, and it was very real, and it happened. So there's my story.
These stories remind us that war doesn't end when the battlefield is over, and that sometimes spirits linger long afterwards. To the men and women who have served and still served, again, I say thank you. Not for a country that hasn't always had your back, but for showing up and showing out and touching lives everywhere that you go, in the most positive and impactful ways. For the courage that you've shown time and time again when others couldn't see it. Just know, here on the Mystic Muse, we see you. And for all of you watching, if you have any of your own ghost stories that you want to share, please make sure that you email them in to me so I can go ahead and get them here on the channel to share with the rest of the community, because we want to know. We know that a lot of these things that happen within government bases are not always truthful, at least what they tell us on the media anyway. So we want to hear it from your perspective. You never quite know how sharing your experience might help someone feel seen in their own when no one else would hear, listen, or understand. But with that being said, I am gonna go ahead and wrap up this compilation here, edit this video so I can push another one out for you guys. But y'all, I definitely enjoyed this rabbit hole, and trust me, there's gonna be more to come. Like, I have books with an S on conspiracy theories here in America alone. So when I say this is just the beginning of this rabbit hole, buckle up, Buttercup. There's gonna be plenty more. But again, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate you guys for watching as always. And thank you so much again for almost getting me to 10K. Like, y'all, I'm so excited. But I'm gonna go ahead and edit this video and get another one out for you guys. So make sure that you drink your water, mind your business, and stay prayed up and protected. And as always, Luna loves you. I'll be back with another video for you guys if the spirits allow it.
When I give that back, wait, give it right back.